Imagine a picture. One day, it was an ordinary day of my life 10 years ago. I was about 25. I was in the kitchen because they said this was the woman's place, cooking dinner for my family. This kitchen was in a beautiful house in Spain where my family spent summer that year. I had a wealthy, handsome husband, of course twice older than me, and a wonderful son who was playing nearby in the shades of these charming Mediterranean trees. You would definitely like this photo on Instagram. Everybody would. My life was likable because I managed to check all the boxes of happy woman's list. But somehow I wasn't happy. This perfect picture was rotten from the inside. I was depressed. No, this word is not strong enough. I was absolutely lost. Not the way Zoomers are nowadays lost because somebody asked them to do some actual job. No. I'm talking about the woman from my generation can be lost. Because I started to work when I was 17, got married at 19, had a baby at 23, just to be sure that my life ends before I turn 25. To that point, my marriage had failed, but no one was ready to accept this fact. I didn't have my own money or a proper job, because in patriarchal families, everything belongs to a man, including yourself. I was particularly a housewife. I didn't believe that I could be a journalist ever again, but I believed that I should spend my time pleasing my husband instead of making my career, because that's the way it worked in the society I was born into. Also, my father was diagnosed with cancer, so my mother and I were crying and cooking a lot. That moment, I was in this beautiful house in Spain, and at the same time in the middle of nowhere. And I looked at my son, and I realized that all this time he was walking around the pillar in the garden, chanting all the names of all the countries in alphabetical order: Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Andorra, Antigua and Barbuda, etc. I thought, he is a genius. Of course he was a genius. He's the son of Jewish mother. But there was something else. And I was right. Next year, my son was diagnosed with autistic disorder. My first thought was, oh my God, he will be like Lionel Messi or Elon Musk, and I will be a mother of a billionaire. And I definitely will look like May Musk at my 70s. No, actually, that's not true. I was so scared and so devastated because 10 years ago, autism was absolutely stigmatized. For most of people, especially in small towns all around the world, it still looks like catastrophe. Those days, we couldn't predict what kind of future our child would have, and nobody could explain me how to help him. I didn't know, will he be even able to have a normal, happy life? Sorry for the drama. Today, 10 years later, my son studies in one of the best international schools in Baltic region. He dances hip-hop. He swims twice a week. He has a lot of friends. And what is the most important, he has a very happy life. As for me, a few days ago, I celebrated my 5th anniversary at Forbes Women. I became an editor-in-chief of Forbes Women 29, and I was the youngest woman ever taken this position in my country. And all these glorious things happened to me because that day in this gorgeous house in Spain, I realized one more thing. I looked at my son walking around the pillar, repeating the names of all the countries in alphabetical order, Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, and I realized that from that moment on, I have to be the pillar. I have to be this unbreakable piece of marble on which my son can lean until he learns how to stand on his own feet. But how? How could I stand on my own feet? How could I change my own life if it was so dramatic and so unique? To begin with, I had to realize that my life wasn't unique at all. Actually, I was such a cliché. Absolutely broken after divorce? In 98% of relationships where women suffer from emotional abuse or domestic violence, they also experience financial abuse. Divorced with a kid? 64% of millennial moms raise their children outside of a marriage, according to 2024 statistic. Sacrificed your dream for a man? Name one woman who didn't, and I will feature her on Forbes woman cover, I promise you. At that moment, I realized that to solve the problem of one woman, we have to solve the problems of every woman. We had to hear the thousands of voices of these women with same problems and same dramas. But somehow, I hadn't heard it. A few years later, my new boss, head of Forbes Russia, asked me to describe a picture of new Forbes woman heroine. Who was she? A woman who had changed her own life and then she changed the world, I told him. It was easy. I knew the answer from the beginning. The rest was hard. As I said, I became an editor-in-chief of Forbes Woman and Forbes Life magazines at 29, and nobody understood why. Even myself. The only question they asked me these days was, who are you sleeping with? Even my close friends, I think even my boyfriend. Nobody believed that a young woman could get such a position because of her talent or skills, because that's the way it worked in the society I was born into. If it was true, my life would be so easy. Every morning I woke up and I told myself the first year in Forbes, today I will be fired. But then I realized that I had to feed my son, I had to be this unbreakable piece of marble, and I went to work. And I worked so hard. You know why? Because according to statistics, every woman has to work twice as hard than a man on the same position to get the same salary. Do you also know who the best workers are? Solo moms. Because they're always scared to lose their job. And also they can handle a dozen of tasks at the same time. So nobody fired me. My life changed. And I got a perfect team of female journalists to start changing the world. As I said, we realized that to solve the problem of one woman, we had to solve the problems of all women. To change the whole damn system, we had to create a space for them to learn from each other, to hear each other, to communicate, and what is the most important, to collaborate. Because in my society, women are separated by misogyny. I thought, now I have all these wonderful, powerful women from Forbes Woman covers on my side. Together we will break the wall. I was such a dreamer. In our Forbes Woman Club, I saw all these successful women telling other successful women stories about their successful success. They weren't ready to talk about gender inequality in business and politics, about harassment and sexism, about pay gap between women and men, about ridiculously small number of women in top positions in politics and business. They wanted to forget their way to the top. It was just a good time management and a bit of luck, they told me. This was bullshit. I know that they ate dirt to become who they became. But they were on the top of this food chain, and they just wanted to give other women advices about their work-life balance. But this didn't work for us. We wanted to give women real advices and to change the rules of this game for next generation. So, we organized the first open nationwide conference about gender inequality in business and society. We created the first award for social entrepreneurs and charity workers. That's how you could see on Forbes Woman cover, for example, a girl from a tiny Russian town who founded a charity for death-pregnant women. Can you imagine death-pregnant women? Or, for example, a mother of a child with disability who founded a business on special furniture for disabled people. These were new heroines of Forbes Woman. We created the first rating of the best companies for women, explaining to business how to change the workspace for their female employees. And they learned to us because they wanted to be liked by Forbes. We wisely used our old power to create a new one. And the ice broke. To tell the truth, we didn't change the whole system, but somehow the whole system has changed. We have 130 years history of movement for female rights. And I'm proud to be grain of sand in this process. Now I hear all their voices, the voices of women who lived a century ago, or who is living next door. And now I know I'm not alone with my problems and my dramas, because we experience the same things, regardless our status or background. In my society, they say that the woman has to be soft and patient. When I hear it, I remember my son's favorite cartoon about dragons. One of the dragon, it has an iron armour that it made from any piece that he can find. Other characters of this cartoon, they thought that this dragon was very dangerous. But then they started to fight it. They realized that it had so soft and delicate skin that he had to make this armor to survive in the world of predators. I think my son didn't understand why I cried at the end of this scene. Because we are women. We are these dragons with soft skin and iron armor that we made to survive, to reach our dreams, to be unbreakable for our child, to fight for our rights. But we don't have to do it alone. Just 2 steps forward, and you have the whole army of these beautiful, unbreakable dragons. Thank you.